The Green Party with 10 minutes. Deputy Mattress.
Thank you, Ceann Corla. Minister, we're here today to examine the large budgetary requirement and the estimates for the department, to put measures in place to allow that department to continue making those payments and the supports that so many people are dependent on to get us through this unprecedented health emergency. These ongoing payments are necessary. They're the right use of public money. Our responsibility here is to support everyone throughout this country and to get through this time of crisis. I'll be supporting this proposal here today for that reason. I think it's also opportune at this time to acknowledge the huge workload across all the departments in administering these payments, and all the staff that were redeployed to have to learn on their feet and answer all the questions and inquiries that came from us as well. And at a local level as well, the local enterprise offices and the work that they've done in supporting businesses and administering the payments and supports there. Minister, there's another very large budgetary figure that also requires our attention. I refer to the EU funding, the EU recovery proposal, the Green New Deal. Today in the House, we're dealing with the immediate crisis and the supports to get us through full reopening of businesses and beyond. The bigger challenge that faces us is the roadmap ahead over the next coming years for this government and for this country. We need to encourage investment. We need to grow employment, and we need to, most importantly, give confidence back to people, to encourage that investment and to show them that there is a path and a way forward that's better than what went before. The European stimulus packages and grants and loans, it's a large figure being discussed by the EU Commission at the moment. We don't know what the final figure will be, but it will be substantial. That loan, that grants, the supports, they're going to give us the ability to do just that, to provide that confidence and investment. We must use that funding in a way that encourages large-scale investment in projects that cut emissions, that decarbonise our economy, that offer high returns, that create long-term sustainable jobs, that provide confidence for investors. Clean energy infrastructure, for example, can create twice as many jobs, drives down energy costs for everybody, drives down the energy costs for every household in this country. Retrofitting our existing housing stock, that's got to be a top priority. Public housing building programme, that gets people back to work, that provides that hope. I attended an online webinar last night by the Tipperary Energy Agency about solar panels, the opportunities that exist there, massive opportunity for photovoltaic fitting across this country. That sunshine that we're outside today could be powering the houses across this country. They're long-term jobs, and that drives down energy costs. And that keeps the amount of expenditure that goes on in this country on imported fuels for our energy costs. That brings it right back down to the domestic level. And with smart metering coming in, there's potential to feed back out into the grid. It makes complete sense. With the right supports and encouragements, Minister, we could see a rollout of solar technology across this country, across every rooftop, commercial and domestic applications. There's massive potential in it. We need to invest in our public transport systems. We can't go back to that congestion, that poor air quality, that people stuck in their cars for hours and hours every day. There's a deficit in the infrastructure in public transport. And we need to address that. Not just getting from city to city, but how we get around within our towns and villages as well. We need to invest in safe walking routes to schools in the morning. All those children being driven to school because there's no safe walking routes. Investment in cycling infrastructure, get people back, bring that life and vitality back into our towns. You don't get that when everybody's driving around and stuck, congested in traffic. There needs to be investment in health and education, in building our skills base to take advantage of the opportunities for innovation and the digital economy. That's the way forward. The investment must be regionally balanced too. Rural support spending, particularly sustainable agriculture and ecosystem regeneration, local and community enterprise supports. These types of investments, Minister, they're not just green policy, they're supported by academic research. They provide the highest returns, they create a sustainable economy, they attract investment, and they're a route to decarbonisation. It's a sustainable future. They're inclusive and they're fair, and they ensure long-term job creation. We're at a turning point. We need to take the opportunities that that EU funding can provide. We need transformative change. That's the challenge for a future government. Minister, I have 3 questions for you. Thank you, Catherine. Minister, does the department plan any review of the existing situation for seasonal workers? And other deputies have referred to the massive job losses across tourism, and there's so many people in those industries that depend on that income at this time of year for that 3 or 4 months. Musicians and artists and across the board, they're not going to have any work this year. They're not going to have that income that they would get at this time of year to get them through the quiet times of winter. I'm just wondering, has there been any consideration? They don't qualify for the unemployment scheme. I had wanted to ask about the temporary wage subsidy in relation to maternity, but you've covered that, and I'm delighted to see that's gone, and I know other deputies have raised this last month as well. My colleague, Deputy O'Connell, raised a query this morning about the proposals and requests to extend state maternity leave for mothers who would be concerned about going back because of concerns about COVID-19 or lack of childcare. Could we get figures on how many people that would affect and what the costs would be to our finances if we were to extend it to phase 5 and the full reopening, which will hopefully go ahead? And just one last question. I refer to the Debenhams issue, which has been raised many times before, but there's real concern amongst workers and their representatives that that company have taken advantage of the COVID restrictions to lessen their engagement with staff and unions prior to the appointment of the liquidator. Have any lessons been learned from that, and is there any measures we can take to support other workers who may be affected by that liquidation in the future? Thank you, Catherine.
Thank you, Deputy.
Thank you, Minister.
Thank you, Deputy, for all of your questions there. And just to open up by saying a word about the proposals that were brought forward by the European Union yesterday. I think they're really important.